Thank you. I think I will introduce this habit to other countries to have a standing ovation. It's very encouraging for a speaker. A lot of nerves go down in the applause. Thank you very much, Susan. Thank you very much to Education Scotland and to the Scottish Government that we can be here and that I'm here. I'm here in a sort of double role. I'm here as the manager of the Schools for Health in Europe network, which I will talk about. But also I'm here as a delegation leader of a group of 55 people from the Netherlands, mainly from schools, but also from other organizations, who are here this week to learn and to experience how Scotland is doing with education, especially the curriculum for excellence. So for us it's a very special combination of doing this. So I calculated about 1/5 or 1/4 of the audience is Dutch, actually. So all the comments that Sir Harry Burns made about cycling landed very well with us who are told that we were all born with a bicycle, which is true, actually. So I'm here to present the Schools for Health in Europe network and a little bit about how we see how education and health can be more aligned, more together. As I say in the title of my presentation, health and learning go hand in hand, the European perspective. I start with this quote that I picked up from a school director in the Solomon Islands, far away from here, but the quote is so true, I think, that I would like to share it with you. And the quote is that there is no shortcut or quick fix in changing school culture. Like a fish in the ocean, we have to swim together, talk together and work together. Only then we make the positive changes that we want to see. And I think this kind of perspective is the way that I look at health promotion, well-being, and trying to integrate that into schools. It's a process, and I think that the process is as interesting as the content. Well, obviously, and you heard Sir Harry Burns speaking about this, the health and well-being of children in Europe. There's a lot to say about it. There are many issues: healthy diet, lack of physical activity, mental health, and so on. There are also, and there's been several studies taking place, especially I would like to mention here the Health Behavior in School Children Survey, the HBSC. And I was going to show you a cross-link, hyperlink, but unfortunately it doesn't work. We worked hard on it, but I've got the link on the slide, and it shows the HBSC. Don't confuse it with HSBC. It happens a lot, the Scottish Bank. Is a study that is being carried out under supervision of the World Health Organization, taking place in 43 countries in Europe, but also including Canada and the United States. And every 4 years, they measure the health through questionnaires of children aged 11, 13, and 15. And so over the years, the study has been repeated every 4 years since 1980. We have an amazing amount of data about the health and health behavior of children, school-age children, in all the different European countries. And when I talk about Europe, I do not talk about only the European Union. I also talk about the Central Asian and Eastern European countries who are not part of the European Union, but used to be part of the former Soviet Republic. So that's a huge area. And all these data show that there are incredible differences in behaviors of, for example, physical activity, but also we can see trends. You know, there are many countries in Europe where there's actually a decreasing trend in the amount of physical activity children have, but also countries who are going up. Anyway, that's all in that hyperlink. Very interesting way, an innovative way also to show research data for everybody. You don't have to be a researcher anymore to find that interesting, I think. Also, the changing trends, it's also a link that I made also with the HBSC website showing how these trends change over the years. Anyway, we talked about we talk about health here, and Harry already gave the WHO definition of health, which is actually a very good definition. It's a very old one. It was written in 1946. And I wanted to add a new perspective, which was published in the British Medical Journal in 2011, written by Machteld Huber, who happens to be from the Netherlands, which looks at a new paradigm for health, saying that health is the ability to adapt and self-manage. And I think when you look at the WHO definition, it's a very, I mean, what is actually complete physical and mental well-being? Who decides? It misses the action, and in this new concept of health, it's much closer to how we see health and well-being when we talk about schools and education. It's about empowerment and all these things. I will come back to that. So the main question, I think, when we talk about health promoting schools is whose responsibility is it? Is it health? Is it education? And I've been involved in health promoting schools from a very long time, and it was very much, and still is, very much driven by the health sector. People from the health sector think that schools are very interesting settings. That's a term that we use in the health sector. That's not a term that school people use, but schools are a good place, a good setting to reach a large target group, and then to give, through the teachers, health messages so that the health of students will improve. But we found that that's not the way to do it, because teachers have their own, and schools have their own agenda, priorities, and we have to find a way how to align these two sectors. And that's been work that's been going on over the last 3 or 4 decades, and we're still learning. We're still not there, but we're making huge progress. I mean, I think Scotland is an interesting example. Scotland actually always has been very one of the leading countries in health promoting schools, and that was led by Health Scotland. But now, since a couple of years, it's now the responsibility of Education Scotland. That's a very interesting shift, I would say, and I give it often as an example of how this can be a successful strategy to align these two works. So who is responsible? I think that's an important question. The other point is about implementation. And again, I was very happy with the talk of Harry Burns. We forget a little bit about implementation. I mean, we make nice programs, but we forget about the process of introducing that innovation, because anything dealing with a new program is an innovation in schools. Everything to do with the new curriculum here is innovation. And innovation itself follows certain logics, laws. I mean, there is resistance, people don't have time for it. And health promoting schools is also about this. In the end of my presentation, I'll show you a manual that we have developed, especially on this. How can we support schools in the process of doing this? Intersectoral working, I already talked about. And also I want to say that over these years, we've seen that there's been a lot of good practice in very different countries all across Europe and also outside Europe. It's a global development, a global movement of how health can be integrated into a school. We have the so-called whole school approach to health, which is more than just health education in the classroom. I'm not sure where the pointer is. I didn't practice this. I was too busy with my hyperlinks. It's not the traditional just health education, teaching about health skills and action competencies, but it's also about the links with the community and the parents, about the policies in the school, about the physical environment, the social environment, about health services. And we see schools and children and school staff in the center, and all these different components impact what's happening in a school and are also aligned. In 1997, we had our first European conference on health promoting schools, And we decided there, which was a huge step because of all the different policies and cultures we have in Europe, to decide on 10 principles that we all share when we talk about health promoting schools. And the first one is democracy. It was already there acknowledged that if you want to create a health promoting school, it should be a democratic process where children and students and staff and parents all are involved in doing this. It's about equity. I mean, I think Scotland is an amazing example of how equity is part of the national policy. But also empowerment and action competence. Action competence is a concept that was developed by Bjarne Brun Jensen, very active in our network, which is the competency to take action, not only to talk about it, but actually do it in your local community or in your school. We talk about the environment of the school, the curriculum, about teacher training. Often we tend to forget that. It's a trend going up and down, and I'm happy that at least among the Dutch colleagues there are some teacher trainers here too, but maybe also among the Scottish or other nationalities represented here. We also have been very much emphasizing over the last decades, does it really work? I think this is a key question, and it's also interesting in the new policy that is going to be launched here on the 23rd of September about the new attainment policies. It's a challenge that you want to measure what you do. I mean, when you do all these efforts, does it really lead to better learning, healthier kids? Cooperation is an 8-component principle that we find very important, the role of the communities and the parents, and also the sustainability, that it's not just a project, but it's part of the school system. In 2014, the World Health Organization, we are working very close with them. We are a collaborating center for the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization acknowledges the role of schools in creating a better health for everyone in our societies. And they have developed a so-called education sector brief, which describes from their point of view how education could and should be involved in making our societies a healthier place. And this sector brief, which is about education and early child development, looks at that one of the factors which is crucial is that every child has access to education, which is not always the case. And education is a key factor, good education is a key factor, as we've heard this morning already, for good health. Also, training of school staff is mentioned specifically by World Health Organization. Health literacy, which is the ability to deal with health, how to use it in your daily life is important, and also to address gender inequalities. We have looked in the SHE network a lot about the evidence, and one of this is a fact sheet that we have developed. I took a few with me, and they are also on our website. What do we know what works? I mean, lots and lots of research has been going on, both on specific programs, on specific health topics, like, for example, is this program on healthy eating, does it really lead to children eating more healthy? But also looks at whole school approach to health. And interestingly enough, this whole school approach to health is actually a very important factor in creating healthier schools. And then we talk really about very generic issues like the management style in a school or the experiences that students have in making change, or the relationships between the teachers and the students. I mean, that's not really health, that's just part of the daily work of the school, right? Or the level of engagement of the community and the teachers. And it shows from a lot of research that all these, when they're done in a good way, helps to build health protective factors and reduce risk-taking behavior. And the overall relationship that we see is there is a link between good health, between educational achievement and school completion. This is an important slide, and there are a lot of questions still. I had a discussion, or we had a discussion in the Netherlands with the Ministry of Education, for example, and because the relationships are there, but what is the causality? What leads to what? So I think we still need to know more about this, but that's where we are right now. And I think that what's going to happen in Scotland with the attainment challenge could be very interesting, to see if, this huge curriculum change, curriculum for excellence, also has impact on the health and health behavior and well-being of the students. So some concerns when I look at Europe, there are 45 countries in the European region who are active in the field of school health promotion. And I still see that after all these decades, health promoting schools is still very much health focused. It's still very much led by the health sector. And I would like to see a change that is taking place here in Scotland, how we can learn from that and implement and introduce that into other countries. Also, an important factor is that change takes time. We often want quick results. It's an effort, but that's not the case with what we are talking about here. When we talk about health promoting schools, it's a long-term investment that has its ups and downs, and we have to accept that, and it's fine. An important one, which is quite often forgotten, I think, is to include the health and well-being of the school staff. They are, I think, as important in the school community as the students. But health people, with their traditional focus on the health of students, think about that more than the health of school staff. And it's very logical, and in all our theories and models, we actively include school staff health and well-being. And the solid evidence base, which I talk about, we really need more evidence. Despite all the more than 1,000 researches that have taken place, we still need more of that. We have a network which is called the Schools for Health in Europe network. I'm the manager of this network, and I have a hyperlink that doesn't work, which I wanted to show you a video clip, but you can look at it yourself. It gives you an idea of how children can take shape in making change in a school. Some very interesting examples of that. And our motto, our, how do you call that, slogan is acting for better schools, leading to better lives. So we have a very wide perspective, I would say almost a life course perspective when we talk about health promoting schools. It has impact on the long term. So the network consists of 45 countries. Each of the countries has a coordinator. Each of the countries has some kind of national program. It differs a lot from country to country. And also we now have country regions that have autonomy in countries like Spain, Italy, and Germany. That's a very relevant issue where decentralized governments are operating. And they're all working on health promoting school programs. And we also have more than 80 researchers in our research group. That's I think, a strength and an asset that we have. These are researchers from both the health and, but also from the education field, talking together, doing research together, making new strategies. The network is already quite old, since 1992, so this is the 23rd year of our existence, and we have been founded and supported since the beginning by the World Health Organization, by the Council of Europe and the European Commission. Some activities that we do is we have our meetings, we make manuals, we make fact sheets. We have an online manual that I'll talk about in the last 2 minutes that I have. And we also realized that we want to have more to offer for schools. We were a network very much for professionals, but schools also want to find us, we found. We did a research in 2013 about how many schools are actually call themselves health promoting schools, and we counted that there are 34,000 health promoting schools in the European region, ranging from Scotland and Wales and Portugal, where every school is called a health promoting school by law, or and countries like Poland, Croatia, Austria, I would say that's the most common. The Netherlands is also part of that, between 2 and 10%. Some countries, they don't have the system at all. Topics that are important and policies that are important is sports and physical activity, healthy eating, mental health, 80%, is a lot less, I would say, than the other topics, safety and sexual health. And finally, a little word about this manual. I could tell you half an hour about this, I won't, but it's really all about helping schools to facilitate the implementation, to help them doing all the different steps to become a health promoting school. And one of the interesting assets we have is a rapid assessment tool, which can be completed online by both students, by the teachers and the parents, saying where are we now with health and what do we want to reach with health. When you complete that, I'm not sure if you can see that very well, you get a spider graph, which is a very nice starting point for a discussion in how do you want to make steps. Which means that it's the school who is responsible for this, not people like me or people outside the school. And we really think that to do this process well, you can really make the steps that in your particular school are the ones that are necessary. My conclusions, finally, Europe has a lot to offer. We can learn a lot from each other. Scotland is a great example of leadership, and we hope that Scotland can maintain this. And I think schools should take the lead in their own change, and more evidence of all this is needed. Thank you for your attention.